Do you ever feel like you don't know enough? Like you don't know enough to be the safety manager. You don't know enough to be in this new role. You don't know enough about OSHA, you don't know enough about regulations, you don't know enough about safety programs, and maybe you feel like you are having to take a crash course in regulations just to get your head above water. Well, if that's you, then I'm glad you tuned in because you're doing it wrong. You don't have to be an OSHA expert. In this episode, I want to talk about why the best safety managers aren't OSHA experts. Well, hey friend, my name is David Sawyer. I'm a safety coach. I help new safety managers prevent accidents and avoid unexpected OSHA audits. But more than that, my goal is really simple. I want to help you go from feeling overwhelmed to feeling like you're OSHA ready. I want you to succeed in this role as the safety manager. And before I jump in to the meat of this episode, I want to tell you what happened yesterday. Yesterday, I was doing a training event with a company. I was doing a training event on lockout tagout, and the safety manager was in the back of the room. Now, I had been brought in to do a safety training on lockout, tagout, and machine guarding with the organization. And I really was doing kind of an overview of what lockout, tagout was. I was explaining it, but more than that, I was really trying to explain why lockout, tagout is so important. And what I discovered was at this company, they had a lot of equipment. They had dozens, if not hundreds, of different types of equipment that could hurt you. And they did not have not one single machine-specific lockout procedure. And what I did was I sat down with the safety manager and I discovered this guy was brand new to the role. He was a new safety manager. And he didn't sign up for the job. It was just kind of thrust upon him. You see, he had been in production and he was doing a good job. He was doing a good job in production. And his boss, his manager said, "Hey, you're doing a good job in production. I need you to also do safety." Did you catch what I just said there? He didn't say you need to stop doing production and you can start doing safety. He said, "I need you to do safety also." Now, out of this guy's own mouth, he had no experience in safety, no experience as a safety manager. And yet, ta-da, he is the new safety manager. Now, this happens. I see it more often than you'd expect. And maybe this is your story, right? Maybe you didn't sign up for safety. It just kind of landed on you. Well, if that is you, or if maybe you signed up for it, but you still don't feel prepared for it, I want to tell you what I told him because I sat down with him and he was a little discouraged. He said, David, I want to succeed in this job, but I just feel like I'm swimming uphill, right? I'm swimming against the current, whatever the phrase is for going uphill. I feel like I'm not getting the traction or the respect or the credibility I need to do this job right. And I started just asking him some questions, right? Because like I said, I'm a safety coach. So my goal is to find out exactly what is going on with him and his organization. And it became really clear. They had not had a serious accident in a long time. Safety was doing just fine. And what I've discovered over the past 15 plus years is oftentimes safety is doing great until something happens. And so it kind of gets shoved on the back burner and people don't really focus on it. And they put somebody in charge of safety because, we need a safety guy. But the person they put in charge, he never gets any training. He never gets any education. And so to bring you back to why I was there, I was brought in to bring this guy up to speed, just to kind of show him the ropes so he understood what he needed to be doing. And we were talking about his safety committee. We were talking about the experience of the workforce. We were talking about near misses and some of the machines he had in place. But I tell you what really resonated with me, what hit me in the gut, was when he said, I want to be successful, but I don't feel like I can. And what I found out was he did not feel like leadership was supporting what he needed. And I told him what I'd tell you. You have to over communicate. You have to over communicate. And here is where most safety managers, they take a right when they should have took a left. They communicate in terms of compliance, regulations, requirements, and rules. And that's not the best way to make a positive impact in safety. You see, you don't need more rules. You don't need more regulations. You don't need to memorize OSHA standards. You don't need to put OSHA standards in your emails when you email your manager telling them that you need a flammable cabinet, because they don't care. They don't care what the OSHA regulations say. They want to know, do you think we need this? Is this something that you're passionate about? Is this something you think is going to keep us safe? Is this something that we really need? Or is this something that just is, part of following the rules? As a safety manager, you do not have to be an expert on OSHA regulations. Now, it's important that you understand they're a tool, but you don't have to be an expert. I tell you, great safety managers, the best safety managers I know, they're not experts on OSHA. Because OSHA is just showing you the low bar, the bottom line. The best safety managers are really good at having a routine. You see, you don't want to know the regulations. You want to have a system. You have to have a system to be successful. So the best safety managers create routines. They communicate. They over-communicate. They follow up on items, right? They build in their calendar training events so they know when training is coming up. They build in a routine. They make sure they have solid relationships with maintenance, with production, with HR. You see, if you think of a wheel, safety is right in the middle of it, because we have to have a good relationship with all the different departments. It is so important to understand that if you're telling people what they have to do according to regulations, they're just going to tune you out. They're not going to do it. They're not going to listen to you. But if you explain it in terms of the language that they speak, you can get a long way. Now, we all want to talk on a heart-to-heart level. That's just the way I'm wired. I want to talk about people's families, their children, their friends, their community, the barbecue they had on Saturday. That's the way I'm wired. But I know other people, man, they're just down. They're not into the emotion of it. They're into the task, completing the task. And with those personality types, you have to make sure that you are very clear on what tasks needs to be completed. So we want to make sure that people understand, if we're talking about production, this is how safety is going to help with production. Production doesn't want to have people out that got injured. You don't want your best worker out because he's injured. You want him working. HR, you don't want your best worker out. You want to make sure you got a solid workforce, good morale. Maintenance, we want to create safety as part of upkeep, part of routines, part of preventative maintenance. It makes it better for everybody. Did you know that statistically speaking, a maintenance employee is much more likely to have a serious accident than somebody in production? When you have safety training specifically with the maintenance personnel, it goes a long way in building that rapport, because usually they need to be trained on authorized lockout, tagout, confined space, fall protection, respiratory protection, hot work, arc flash, electrical safety training. So going a little bit deeper with maintenance employees can really build the rapport you need. Here's what I'm trying to tell you. Consistency is what prevents accidents, not OSHA regulations. OSHA regulations are important, but they're not as important as the relationships you build with the people around you, the communication that you establish, the routines you establish, and more than anything, systems that you establish. You don't need to memorize the OSHA regulations. You've got a phone in your pocket. It will tell you anything you want to know. You don't have to store that information up here. You don't need to memorize OSHA. You need to be familiar with it, of course, but spend your time focused on your organization, your company, and most importantly, how you can improve the safety and the jobs and the people that you're working with. When I was doing the safety training at the company yesterday, talking about lockout, tagout, at the end of the training, I was talking with the safety committee, and we were really diving in and kind of lifting up some rocks and looking under them and trying to figure out if things could be improved. And we had one of the crew leaders sheepishly say, "Hey, David, I have a question. You know, when we open up this machine, we don't usually lock it out because it stops moving. And so we always just clean it and then we put it back and we don't lock it out. Is that something we should be doing?" Now, I could have come at her, right, and said, "Yes, that's what we just spent 4 hours talking about, right? What are you, a stupid idiot?" Now, that wouldn't have really served my purpose. I might have been feeling that way sometimes when people ask me questions, but I really do my best to say, listen, this is a learning, a teaching environment. We want people to ask questions of the safety manager. We want people to ask their manager, their production manager questions. We want people to say, "Hey, I noticed something the other day." Because otherwise, people just get on autopilot. They become robots. One of the best things about having a safety committee and regular meetings and just a system where people are there to think about how we can improve safety is because people bring up stuff that they might have done for the past 6 years. Nobody's gotten hurt, but it wasn't the best way to do it. So you want to clarify where the hazards are. As a safety manager that's new to safety, the very first step that I encourage safety managers to do is to complete a safety assessment of their organization. Now, you could be coming in and you're walking into a well-oiled machine. Everything's flawless. Guess what? You still need to do a safety assessment. You need to determine exactly where the gaps are. Where are the problems? There's no perfect system. And if you're on the other end of the spectrum and you're walking into a location, a facility, a company where they don't have a safety program at all, right? They don't have anything they need. And you walk in and you're like, where do I start? In those situations, start with a safety assessment. Start with a safety assessment. Now, if you haven't done this already, you can go to my website right now and you can access a free OSHA audit checklist. That checklist will help you prepare your team and your company for an unexpected OSHA visit. The checklist is designed to walk you through what you need to prepare for an OSHA inspection, right? What do I need to have ready? How do I set up my paperwork? What do I need to prepare for in terms of a walkthrough? It is a great starting place for doing a deep dive into the OSHA program. The OSHA audit checklist is fantastic. Simply go to my website, helpwithosha.com, and you can access that checklist right now. The reason I'm telling you this is when you access that checklist, at the bottom, there is a place where you can actually sign up to do a safety assessment. And I have provided a form. I've provided a way that you can do a specific safety assessment for your organization. And it dives into all aspects of your organization. The goal of the assessment is to give you an idea of where you are right now. It's a snapshot in time. This is where we are right now. And from there, you can build in to your system what you need to do. The safety assessment is designed to focus on the most serious hazards first, because that's how somebody's going to get hurt. It also takes into account what I was talking about earlier with management, leadership style, and your mindset as a new safety manager. And you might go, well, David, why is it think about that? Why does it talk about that? That's a huge part of it. We need to know your experience. We need to know your weak areas so you can get professional development as a safety manager. I'm a safety coach. I work with safety managers to help them succeed in their job. It is surprising how many times people get frustrated and burned out before they even get started. Don't let that happen to you. You don't have to hate your job. You can love your job. You can be so fulfilled as a safety manager, but you have to take that first step. So do this. Go to my website, helpwithosha.com, and access the free OSHA audit checklist. Go through that system. There's a video there. It's not just a PDF. It's a video you can watch and go through that system. And then at the bottom of it, there's a way where you can actually do a safety assessment so that you dive in to your written programs, your training documentation, and you will know where you stand. And it will give you a map, a roadmap to where you need to go. Until we talk again, do everything you can to keep the people you work with safe, because no one should get hurt at work.